Greetings and welcome back to the special edition of the Joko as we're um, here to continue talking about the sentencing of the Uhuru 3 that came down today, following the schedule that was released by the Uhuru movement, um, where we expect now in St. Petersburg, there is a summation going on and rally. And if we have the capability, we will share some of that with you live. But next, like to bring on my partner and comrade, Tasha.
Hey, greetings, everybody. And yes, we're back. We're hoping to do something similar to what we did this morning and share our screen and live stream their summation and rally. And we will be kind of, as Yusuf said, keeping our eye on it and seeing if we'll be able to tap in. Um, and we always begin, by um, acknowledging our ancestors, the energies that guide us in vision and work and inspiration and all of that, and acknowledge that the first ancestors of the land where we do this work are the people of the First Nations, the people of the land, the indigenous people. We don't say Native American, whatever that means,
Mhm.
right? I'm sorry, let me own that. I don't say Native American, whatever that means. Um, and yes, it's on those unceded territories, specifically of the Tongva, that we do any work we do for the liberation of our people, and ultimately the betterment of humanity and the liberation of humanity from oppression and exploitation. Um, and so, giving thanks, we always start there. And we've got joining us today our good comrade James Simmons. Hi, good comrade James Simmons.
Can you hear us, James?
I think he's trying to hear us.
Uh,
Here we go.
yes, can you hear me?
We can
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, my little earbud didn't stop working at the most unfortuitous moment.
Right.
Yeah. So, yes, our good brother James Simmons is a long time movement attorney and community organizer. James, how long have you been movement attorneying? How many decades is this now?
Uh, three,
Three. Okay.
three, and then prior to that, involved in political work. Um, so just kind of sprung out of my political work
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and grew up both a red diaper baby and
Hmm.
a black diaper baby.
All right. Yes.
So
Yes.
my family is oriented to involvement in movement for change and self determination.
Hmm. Right on.
Yes, indeed. So I think those of us who can claim those diapers or claim those diapers are so
Right.
grateful that we were fastened into those diapers. And
Yes.
because I
Mm-hmm.
often wonder how do the rest of us make it? We came
Mm-hmm.
in, you know, yet being slathered with it constantly. It's like, how do
Mm-hmm.
y'all make it to these understandings and these consciousness
Mm-hmm.
without that kind of guidance? So that's a great introduction. And James, you also teach Africana Studies. You're a professor of Africana Studies, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
California State University Northridge.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell us a little bit about that. And all this is by way of an introduction and formality.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just teaching like my current course load. So they've kind of put me into the critical thinking, race and
Mm-hmm.
critical thinking. It's like, okay, you have the classes. So as an attorney, as and using critical thinking in my legal profession. Uh, I guess they say, hey, you understand this stuff. Maybe you can teach it
Mm-hmm.
effectively. Also, American political institutions, which they fit, both of those subjects fit into
Mm-hmm.
what we're going to be talking about today, as well as Pan-Africanism. I've taught Pan-Africanism classes in the past, African American history. Um, so that's and other stuff, but I think best suited for this are the American political institutions and critical
Mm.
thinking and critical race theory, parts of my
Yes.
teaching schedule.
Fantastic. Right. The students of Northridge have much to look forward to.
Yeah.
There's much opportunity. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. And so, yeah, we are gathered here today to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate and also pull back into some critical thinking on the sentencing victory of the Uhuru Three. Not one day, not one dime
Hmm.
is the cheer.
Yes.
Not one day, not one dime.
Right. Right. Which is pretty astounding. That in the past, in political cases,
Mm-hmm.
like this or similar to this,
Mm.
people have spent
Mm.
years in prison. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then, oh yeah, we made a mistake, or oh yeah, the evidence was tainted or manufactured. And
Mm-hmm.
in this case, apparently, uh, they're gonna wag their finger and say, "Don't you do this again." And they did get community service,
Mm-hmm.
3 hours of community service, but
Mm-hmm.
they're doing community service anyway.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it is a great victory.
It
Mm-hmm.
is. Do you have any notion of why this unusual
Mm-hmm.
kind of sentencing instead of making them inaccessible to the community?
Well, as it typically goes, because I haven't read the sentencing memorandum, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure the stated reason and then the background reason. Um, So-called President Trump, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, former president and future president, president-elect, has been accused of being a tool of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And Russia injecting um, chaos and confusion and fake news and tampering with the election in the United States in 2016, 2020, and now even 2024. So to attack them and put them in prison
Mm-hmm.
and give them uh, uh, a a harsh punishment, well, then you have to look at, well, what about the president?
Mm-hmm.
If he did the same thing, and there's evidence that he did the same, not the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
engaged in um, collaborating
Right.
with Russia, him kissing up to Putin as a so-called as an autocrat,
Mm-hmm.
having dictatorial tendencies, which was anybody could see that before he even got
Mm-hmm.
into office in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you punish them harshly, what does that say about um, this president and this
Mm-hmm.
movement
Mm-hmm.
of uh, uh, celebrating uh, the Russian government, Russian interference, or whatever, that why are you punishing them for what the left and the black left in particular, and and what the right is doing and getting away with and getting pardoned for.
Right.
So also it's like, what did they do? Who did they touch? Who did they reach? And I think the sentencing memorandum was like, this is like a crime truly without a victim. You know, if they're following a political philosophy, in any case, whether they had any contact with these other organizations or the Russian government, Russian intelligence at all, it probably had very little to do with their conduct. They have a philosophy of anti-imperialism, of, of taking action in criticizing the U.S. government. And so what was actually contributed to what actually contributed? Were they prompted? Were they hired? Would they have not done it otherwise? And I think the answer is yes. They've been doing it for decades.
Right. Yeah.
Criticizing the U.S. government, criticizing imperialism, criticizing neocolonialism, looking and promoting self-determination and an independent political course. So did Russia give them their marching orders, and did it give them their philosophy, or did they have it? And I think they've had it. They've been practicing it. And so you're going to punish them for something they've been doing anyway? You know, that's kind of ridiculous.
That's kind of ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And I have a question about what it means to set precedents and how precedents are built upon and referred to and become, like, I guess canonized might be a good term for it. Or, kind of define the process by which one hopes to persuade judgments and whatnot. So the question being is, well, I guess two-part. What portions of a case become precedent in reference, right? And my sub, because there's case, right? There's the progress of the trial, there's the conviction, there's the, and there's this sentencing. Is the and they were convicted on the conspiracy portion, right? So what kind of precedent does that in itself, that conviction set, if any, if that's a thing, and what is the significance in terms of precedent of the actual sentencing?
Yeah, this case probably really won't set any precedents. Precedents are usually set or established through courts of appeal. In this case, it would be not a Ninth Circuit case. I forget which circuit they're in. But whatever circuit they're in under federal law, those are the people who would follow that precedent, or precedents. So whatever laws is written into an opinion is going to be followed in that circuit. The Supreme Court sets precedent for the entire country. So in terms of the sentencing, every sentence is different. Everybody has their own factors, and the sentence might follow precedent. And the attorneys would argue the facts and the law. It's like you can't give or prison time isn't maybe normally given for this type of offense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Evidently, the jury felt that it was not, it's not like they were Russian agents. They weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They were independent actors. They again had a philosophy of self-determination. They're not taking orders from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the jury probably said, "Nah, these people are not agents, but you can conspire." Yeah, even you could agree. Yes, the U.S. empire must be dismantled. The U.S. elections, in whatever case, don't vote for Biden. Don't vote for what's his name, and
Mhm.
that can be. You can conspire with other people if it's a crime, if it's a criminal act. Um, and so the jury is like, well, if we're going to convict him of something, we'll convict him of this, but not of that. Clearly, the evidence doesn't show that. You can make some kind of colorable showing that they
Mhm.
were, yeah, they collaborated with others, but and sometimes people are convicted wrongly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the evidence doesn't show that. Maybe the law doesn't support that. And
Mm-hmm.
in the future, after an appeal, they might be able to overturn this conviction
Mm-hmm.
because the law and the facts don't support it. And then they would use precedent. But at
Hmm.
this point, this sentencing itself wouldn't be precedent for too much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I have a question about appeal then. Because if they were to appeal the wrongful conviction, would that affect the sentencing at all, or does the sentencing, that they got such a lenient sentence, right? The community service without the fine or anything. Excuse me. If they were to, they can still appeal the conviction,
Yes, they
and
they can.
that wouldn't affect the sentence.
It probably wouldn't unless um, the government see because they're not appealing the sentence. They're appealing.
Mm-hmm.
They would be appealing the conviction itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they were given a new trial, if the conviction was vacated and they had to go all over it again, um, then yeah, well, maybe they could get a, a different sentence, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, but I think it is possible to get a harsher sentence
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. They can't be convicted of the registering as an agent,
Right.
Hmm.
but they can be retried on their uh, let me
On the
see. No, they
conspiracy.
can't be retried. Yeah, if their conviction is vacated, uh, they might be retried.
So
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
one of the risks of appeal.
Uh, yes, possibly. And I'm not clear on the law on whether or not they can
Mm-hmm.
be resentenced,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
but I think it's a possibility. But like
Mm-hmm.
with Hunter Biden, there was an agreement
Mm-hmm.
that he enter into a plea. He would be given, you know, uh, probation and a fine and whatever.
Hmm.
And the judge said, no, we're not doing that from political pressure from the right. And so they wound up charging him with a bunch of stuff, and he wound up being convicted
Mm-hmm.
until he was pardoned.
Until
So,
he was pardoned. Yeah.
Hmm.
so that, um, but that doesn't apply in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, well, I jotted down a number of things. Yusuf, do you have anything that you want to go ahead with in asking, pose to
Um,
James?
well, yeah, I think I did have a follow up on that. Oh, yeah, right. At the press conference this morning, I don't remember who said it, but one of the speakers, made a call to the incoming to the incoming Trump administration to give them a pardon, to give them a full pardon. Um, I was it's is that an admission of guilt when you get a pardon, and what's the difference between pardoning and exoneration?
Well, a pardon is basically saying if you have been found guilty and they're going to give you grace, and because of circumstance, and they're going to basically relieve you of of um, of this conviction. And they give pardons to people who've been dead 100 years. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, but
Hmm.
uh, an exoneration means that you uh, basically, it's like a finding of innocence. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you've been exonerated of committing this crime.
So it overturns that conviction.
Yeah, it's basically overturning the conviction. And this is like in California, there's a finding of factual innocence.
Mm-hmm.
No, that you may have they say you've committed a crime, but if you
Mhm.
present evidence that, hey, I was in another state, like what happened in
Mhm.
Tulia, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
people were convicted, but then it was found that they were in other
Mhm.
states when they were
Mhm.
alleged to be in Tulia
Somewhere
dealing
else.
dope, but they're at a
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
bank. There are records of them being at a bank
Right.
in Oklahoma or
Right.
whatever, wherever they were. So
Mhm.
and that's different. That's different. So um, uh, fundamentally, you're not challenging whether or not they did it in a
Mm-hmm.
uh, in a pardon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the primary difference.
Okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Tasha. You have some notes or some questions.
Yeah, some stuff. So this notion of prosecuting conspiracy in this way, prosecuting, what does that um look like if there is a history of this kind of
Excuse me, Tasha.
political.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they are live now at the
Oh,
Uhuru House. Do we want to
okay.
just go to that?
Yes, I do. Let me check back in
I do too.
and see if we can find it. Okay, great. I am going to go to it, and we will share screen and log on in. Ha la la la.
It does. I don't think they have been at it for too long. I'm
No, they
guessing.
haven't. I have to shift around a little bit here.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, it seems like they're just getting started more or less.
Yeah, they are.
Hmm.
What's your name again, sister? Mona Green.
My son is Ronald.
So we want to introduce Mona Hardin, mother of Ronald Green, assassinated by the state of Louisiana 2 years ago. Going on 6 years ago. May 10th, 2019. So Uhuru, I want to give you the floor.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm humbled to be here. Everyone's presence. I'm just lifted. My son was killed May 10th, 2019, in Farmerville, Louisiana, by Louisiana State Troopers. I'm originally, when my son was murdered, I lived in Orlando. I still live in Orlando, and I've been traveling back and forth for over 5.5 years. These trials. And needless to say, what's going on in Louisiana is a deep-rooted network. I gotta call it like I've seen it as KKK. So deep in the threads of what orchestrates Louisiana politics. It took 3 years before we had 5 indictments, December of 2022. And within a matter of months, they've been dismantling it. It was in October of this year. We had 4 of those 5 indicted policemen, and it was all orchestrated through secret grand jury. We've not been privy to any of the information. Everything's been backdoor deals, and it was October of this year that the 4 of the 5 indicted police has been, and the one with the most serious of charges, Corey York. He was let go. The term was termination of the case for York. And now we have one left by the name of Chris Harvin. And unexpected, the trial on this one is February 25th of 2025. I'm expected for this one to be kicked to the curb, just like all the others. And I just thank you so much. Please look up my son's name. When you Google Ronald Green, you'll see the police, you'll see what they did to him. It's been there. We were told that Ronnie was killed from a car accident. We were told the initial phone call, it was a narrated live. And it was almost 2 years before we saw the videos of Louisiana State Troopers chasing my son when he was still behind the steering wheel. And within a matter of minutes, they tased, beat him to death while he was handcuffed and they shackled. It's all over there, we looked at it. And regardless of what we have, no matter how much we fought it, we've been literally fighting the case by the state of Louisiana with our hands behind our back. Unless we have boots on the ground supporters, this is the only type of backbone we have. Those that stand with us, and we still have 5 indictments just kicked to the curb. It's such a deep network. The governor that exists back then, Governor John Dale Lewis, to the governor that we have right now, Jeff Landry. It's wicked. It's wicked. With the new administration coming in, we just don't know what to expect in 2025. But we're ready. We're not stopping. And what can I say? There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. So be it. Because without the support of the boots on the ground, we don't have anyone. I don't care who you hire. I don't care what we have. We don't have nothing but, it's just like they say, it's on us for us. I never knew the meaning of that until we became an impacted family. The fight that we have, how awful, how evil, but it exists. It exists. And I've been in such a huge network of other impacted families, and all I can say is I can ramble on forever and not even continue. I can't even get to the end of the ugliness, the network of lies that exist in my son's case. And those, they were promoted, they retired, they've been transferred We talk about top brass from State Trooper of Louisiana, State Troopers' lives. Just erase cell phones. And no matter what we had, no matter how many we found guilty, there was still no one arrested. There was still no one held accountable. We don't know how it's going to end. It's pretty much telling us so from the way things have been for the past 5.5 years. But we're still reaching to the DOJ, continuously writing letters to the FBI investigators, Kristen Clark, Merrick Garland. I get no reply back. But I have that paper trail. I keep fighting for my son and for other families. And this is just what we have to do. This is just what we have to do. There's such ugliness out there. Rachel Maddow, and Anderson Cooper, Chris Lemon, Don Lemon, I'm sorry. Don Lemon show. I've been on the Sunday morning with Jane Pauley, Roland Martin show. I've been on all of them, all of them. The noise is up here, the highlights get up here, and the minute the cameras are turned off, it's silence. It's silence. No matter who we have, no matter those on, I mean, even when those highlighted, those celebrities, I thought, oh my God, you know, I've been on this show. Yes, Frederica Whitfield. I've been on all those shows. I've been on, oh my God, it's so many. And I'm thinking, well, surely this will connect the system, and it doesn't. It just doesn't. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. Yeah, the organizations out there, and it's saying there's so many who continuously go and pay for it. They dance to their music. So I just thank you so much. Please look at my son, me, and my daughters. We've been challenged, we've been threatened. The intimidation is really ugly in Louisiana. We can't even get families, impacted families to stand with us as we're trying to get, in the midst of my son being murdered, there's been, and it's still ongoing, a pattern practice investigation into the death of Ronald Green. And I'm trying to get impacted families to stay in your faces, let them know what's happening in your household. We'll tell you a story for you, but they're so afraid. I'm still beating down doors, and these are families who've been impacted and lost loved ones by Louisiana State Troopers. Troop is notorious amongst all the others. So I just thank you so much. This is the ugliness that we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it. I thank you so much.
That's why the importance of today's victory, as we said the other day, this is not the end, this is the beginning. This is the beginning, right? But we're talking about the ability to speak for ourselves. We're talking about uplifting, defending, and forwarding a struggle that works for African people, for Ronald Green. This is what today's victory is about. I want to note that we're building the anti-colonial free speech movement is about giving voice. Is about returning that sense of power to the people. And in that, I want to note that for everyone to mark their calendars for the tentatively scheduled January 18th conference to build the anti-colonial free speech movement organized by the Hands Off Bull Fight Back Coalition. So as we move in today's summation, so once again, you can give any contact information. How can they reach you?
Well, we have the Ronald Green Foundation. My phone number is 321-503-4148. 321-503-4148. And I live in Orlando, Florida. My email is scss.poi@gmail.com.
Yeah, she should join the Black is Back Coalition, Ms. Ronna. We need your information.
Yeah.
We want you to be a part of the Black is Back Coalition. Because you cannot be alone.
Thank you so much.
And you're not alone. So, someone who has driving a Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Grand Cherokee, the rear hatch of your vehicle is open. So if there's anyone in here that's driving a Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Grand Cherokee, do you know what color? Burgundy? So now what I want to do, I want to pass it to the Uhuru 3, beginning with the vice chair of the hands-off Uhuru. Yes, Uhuru.
Just on this whole question around green, I think that it states something about the significance of this trial that we just gone through, the charges that were leveled against us, that had they been victorious on the foundational charge that we worked for Russia, the implications that African people complaining about our conditions in this country are not legitimate. They would argue that everything is wonderful in the United States for Africans and for other people. That was what much of this was all about. You have to understand this in the context of the United States engaged in a serious ideological struggle right now. We've seen this happen before in the United States with international forces, and historically Russia has been at the center of it because at the time when Russia was considered, like a revolutionary Marxist country, and that was influencing revolutionary struggle all around the world. The U.S. and the colonial countries were bent on showing that colonial capitalism was more viable than Soviet Russia communism, however they characterized that. In fact, this contest that they were involved in played a role in getting some legislation passed in this country, like the Civil Rights Bill and the Voting Rights Act. I'm not underplaying or understating the significance of the struggle that Black people had, because we died in making these struggles. But the thing is that it was an embarrassment for the United States, because the Soviet Union was using what was happening to Black people. Here's a country that's using high-powered water hoses on children who were just trying to vote, who actually bombed churches and killed our babies, who assassinated people, including people like Martin Luther King, who was just trying to use basic democratic stuff. And so this is what the United States is going up against in terms of the international arena. Where there was a huge contest, and it's still going on, about what forces, what kind of system is going to be the one that that peoples around the world are connected to, where we see our futures are. And I think that's something really important to recognize. And this thing that they've just done to Iran is an example of a horrible criticism. That's why reparations thing is such a real problem for them. Because if we're talking about reparations, for what? For what? We're talking about a history of brutality, of genocide, of just grotesque oppression of African people, and that's why they would say the Russians initiated the reparations work that we were doing. Our criticism of the United States in terms of genocide and the United Nations Convention, because they would stop any criticism that's coming from our community. That's how they would neutralize it. And so I just think it's important that we do everything we can. We get all the information we can about what's happening to this sister's son. And we get it out to the world. And I agree that she should be really seriously courted and brought into an organization, into the movement. Because you can't do this stuff alone. And if we had been alone, you've been asking me if I smoke cigarettes, so you can what brand to send me, in prison. We can't do it alone. Thank you, Comrade President.
Once again, September 12th, today, December 16th, affirmation that these three people here work for Africa, for Black people, and that's what they work for. So I really salute Chairman for your summation on that. Now what I'll do is I'll pass it to Vice Chair, or Chairwoman Penny Hess of the African People Solidarity Committee, who is also the Vice Chair of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. And then we'll hear from Chairman Omali Shatella, Chair Jesse Neville, and then the lawyers in summation of today's victory.
Should I go up there? I think that would work.
There?
Okay. All right, Uhuru, everybody. We are winning. We have won. I want to say that the Uhuru 3 and this attack on the African Liberation Movement, the African People's Socialist Party, and Chairman Omali Shatella was able to win based on you, based on everyone who has stood with the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru 3 for the last 2.5 years. So I want to deeply, deeply salute all of the people here and who have participated in this movement for all this time. I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Shatella, the fiercest fighter for the liberation of African people and for oppressed and colonized peoples around the world. Will never back down. Will always stand with the principle that African people must be free, that indigenous people must have their land back, that Puerto Rican people must have Puerto Rico, that the Palestinian people must have Palestine, and that all oppressed and colonized people will be those who have the leading power on this planet. And I have had the honor of being a member and often the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization led by Chairman Omali Shatella, Deputy Chair Onasinea Shatella, the African People's Socialist Party, for almost 50 years. I think it's about 48 years, formed in 1976. So I don't know if that's good math or not, but a long time ago. And I want to say that in all of this time, I've had the honor to be in many organizations, many groups and meetings, just like this one, and to be able to see the leadership of Chairman Omali Shatella, and that always have seen, hardly ever, a meeting like this, an event where African people have not stood up and talked about the police murders of their children, the mass incarceration, the colonial reality that African people face, and this huge gap between the conditions of white people and the conditions of African people. And this is what this case tried to do. It, among other things, it tried to say that white people would be intimidated to stand under the leadership of the African Revolution, and we'd say, no way! And that it enables us to be here today, to be able to look at the true history of white people, a history that is violent, a history that participated in the enslavement of African people, who from regular white working people participated or even instigated the lynchings of African people. I have studied the history because Chairman Omali Shatella put out an understanding that this country and this system is built on the kidnapping of African human beings that created the first wealth and first capital of capitalism, the capitalist system, that it's built on genocide. That's not a fluke. That's not something a long time ago. This is the essence, this is the DNA of the system that we live in. And that is not racism, that is colonialism. And that African people here are fighting for their liberation, for political power, for the return of their stolen resources, just like any oppressed person, people anywhere else on the planet. That's what Chairman Omali Shatella taught us, that was our job, to go into the white community and win that message. And to do more than that, to say that reparations to African people is the essence of what we do and what we talk about and what we actually raise the resources because of the stolen wealth that belongs to African people, not as a favor, not as something that we would want to do out of the goodness of our hearts, but because we understand that this wealth, this ability to live, the resources, everything needed for human beings to live has been stolen 600 years ago, 500 years ago, 100 years ago. Today, it goes on, and that colonialism is the essence, and the chairman calls it the colonial mode of production. And that means that there is nothing in the system that is not made by, that colonialism doesn't create. There's nothing pristine. There's nothing like, oh, I can just go out and grow my own farm, because that farm belongs to the indigenous people. And how many bodies of indigenous people are under the ground right there, where you're going to be doing your little pristine life, and that white people can't do that. And we also know that many white people do want to take a stand, want to be on the right side of history. But how do you do that? How do you do that in a principled way? Because white people can't go, well, can't we all get along now? Because it doesn't really work like that. There is a price to pay, because everything that we have had has come at the expense of others, of Africans, of indigenous people, and oppressed people around the world. So there is a price to pay, but that price is a liberation for white people. It enables us to join the people on the planet Earth, to have, for the first time, a principled relationship, not as a colonizer to African people and oppressed people, but under their leadership and under their incredible power of creating a new world, which is exactly what Chairman Omali Shatella has always fought for, and why he was attacked by the US government, to create a world without the oppressors and the oppressed, without the theft, the rape, the pillage, the nastiness that Mrs. Green just talked about on this planet. We don't want that. We want a world where there can truly be peace, and not just by some accord that the US government writes or something for some minute, that is about the power of the people. So I just want to say that this is what I have learned from Chairman Omali Shatella. This is why I am here. And that we won a victory. I just want to say, the judge said that, well, I can't get them a fine because they'll just have fundraising. Raise the money. Yeah. And he said, okay, 300 hours of community service, which he said, you could do that on your heads. Okay. Yeah. No, this is what we do, as James said, this is what we do, 300 hours. How many thousands of hours of community service of work for the people? And so, they couldn't do what they wanted to do, and what this government has done historically to African people. The assassinations, we had the son of Fred Hampton here, maybe he's there right now. dad and shot him point blank.
Yes.
He's good and dead now.
He's good and dead
And
now.
that we cannot, as white people, stand by and watch that. This still is everyday reality. We have to take a stand. We have to join this movement and do this work and see the power. I want to salute Deputy Chair Onisade. There are many fronts, and I had the honor of working in Hands Off Uhuru Coalition under Chairman Wasey, who's the Secretary General of the party, who's just amazing face of Hands Off Uhuru. But a really essential part of the fight back has been the work of the office of the deputy chair, which has continued, if not intensified, the building of programs and projects so that there are now at least 53 different kinds of economic development programs. This is not about a demonstration. This is not about a protest, this movement. This is about building power in the hands of African working classes. Like this in the world.
That's right.
I just want to say that. You look around, nothing. And sometimes, you know, we can say, oh, I'm a socialist. But what does that mean? If African people and colonized people don't have power over their lives? What does that mean? That means a continuation of colonialism as, you know, as we know it today. So this is a new day. This is a victory of African people. And African people have won. And Chairman Obama should tell them, mastermind this, let it. I would just say another thing for Chairman Wasey, he's not here at the second, but we will have a Hands Off Uhuru webinar. We'll thank everybody. We'll go back over everyone, all the specific stands that people took, all the different press conferences, tours, everywhere you spoke about this. Cam Howard, Pam. I mean, this is, you know, this is a beautiful, beautiful movement. Ward and Natsu and all of the friends. I know, I mean, I don't want to say somebody, there's so many people that did this in so many ways, in so many places, in California, in Southern California, San Diego, Los Angeles,
Australia,
New York, Australia, you know, Europe, and in Africa, and Johannesburg, and there's so many places in the world that, you know, that people took the stand under the leadership of the African working class. So we really will spend time from Hands Off Uhuru to go through and just thank all of you. The D12, you know, that incredible press conference in Brooklyn about 2 or 3 days after the raids in July 2022. Just the friends that we, you know, that are here. This is what a movement is supposed to be, where you actually feel love for your comrades. You know? I know that a lot of people did a lot. There were people here, you know, in September that are here again, and that's not easy for people, you know, in this world that we live in, and just what that means, and that stand. And I can only say it is deeply, deeply saluted and appreciated and put forward as really being on the forward side of history. So I salute you on that, and I just want to say that it's not over, that this struggle has to continue, because first of all, they can attack the Uhuru movement again, and in a different way, or they can attack, you know, the next organization, and there has to be, you know, a fight back. The chairman has really talked about, like how did you say it, Chairman? An organization, maybe a Hands Off Uhuru, human rights, yes. Anti-colonial human rights organization. That's what has to be built. That is here able to take it on for anyone. You know, we need to win this, and the solidarity, white solidarity has to be part of it. Because we need solidarity in Israel, the US backed Israel. Think if there were white people there fighting, against the settler colonial government backed by the US right now in support of the Palestinian people. We need solidarity, white solidarity in Canada, in Europe, all around the world, because colonialism is a worldwide system. We have to build this, and we have to go forward and set the terms that there can't be an organization anywhere that is based on self-interest and be in the name of socialism, but is in the self-interest for those who really have the power already. No, we are not going there. We represent the ability and the right of white people to stand in solidarity with African people and oppressed people, and as being part of a whole movement of African and oppressed peoples around the world fighting for the victory. So I just want to say this was a powerful 2.5 years, but that was only a little mark in time of all of these struggles and victories of the Uhuru movement and the African People's Socialist Party over the last 50 or 60 years, which has really changed the world and is in the process of changing the world. And that, I just want to say that we have won. We are still fighting. This will be continue to go on until African people will be free, until the colonial mode of production is wiped off the face of the earth. Uhuru!
All right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, say something, man. Otherwise, got
Hold on, man. I said, Uhuru. Read them all, y'all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't catch the flight. Unfortunately, I was here today. This is a historic day. Phenomenal. But Minister Dewey Peter would say, revolutionary is never satisfied, y'all. But again, this is a phenomenal move. They said, Sandinista said, the will of the people is greater than man's technology. I am charged of. This is a phenomenal day again. I'm glad I got here. Again, unfortunately, I got to leave out again. Right on, phenomenal day.
Right on.
Let me say this. Someone said earlier, and good to see you. Duty bound. Oh, man.
Yes, sir.
When I was facing and held captive in those concentration camps,
Yes.
hey, we had General Martin telling, can't see about us, can't see about me, can't see about us like the people, you have to arrest me.
Yeah.
Speak for that. So again, we gotta come about this.
He didn't do it, but he should have. He didn't do it, but he should have.
I was there in Cook County jail one time. And they say, all the people out there around Cook County jail, they march around looking on free. They take me downstairs and different officers, this what's going on out there? I look out the window, see, look, they saying free. He said, man, hold on, you gotta say something. Hold on, I ain't no right to kill this. We keep it going.
Do you need to jump off, Tasha?
It was not for the support of the people. I would have kicked him out of in the pine box.
Do you need to jump off the StreamYard? I'm looking at the time, it's 1 o'clock.
That's it, man. Right on. We should have respect.
I'll be all right for a minute.
He didn't do it, so he should have. He didn't do it, but he should have.
I think we have to be the MC now. Okay,
So now we're hearing from Chairman Jesse and Dan.
If you don't mind, Comrade Louise in London is on.
Oh,
I'd like to hear from this comrade. Comrade Louise Kinshasa, born in Congo, became exiled, after the murder of Patrice Lumumba. Has lived in France and England for a long period of time. And so, yeah, he's been a stalwart member of our movement and led much of the work that we do in Africa and in Europe. So, do we have him now? What do we have to do?
Hello, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Where's the Kinshasa?
Can you hear me?
SG.
Yes, sir, Chairman. I just want to just join. You can hear me.
Can we do something about the lights too?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
No.
Yes, sir, Chairman. I just want to join everyone who is full of joy because the slogans on a Saturday, not a day in prison. That was a powerful slogan that we chanted outside the U.S. Embassy, and it did attract quite a lot of attention. People want to know it was all about. So I just want to first recognize your leadership and salute your leadership. It is really, 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 really profound. You're giving meaning to so many, many things. One is just that the struggle against the U.S. ruling class, and the U.S. ruling class can be taken on and be defeated, and the whole world can see that. And this is like a message of encouragement. I'm sure this is going to inspire everybody around the planet who's watching this, who's aware of this. You give a meaning to the class struggle. You're able to say the African working class must lead. So just this struggle, you see, you unite all the classes from the colonized and from the colonizers under the leadership of the African working class to show their support. So you lay out the terms. This is a really, really, really powerful because there is no other place on the planet where you can learn about what does it mean class struggle today under in an era of decline of U.S. imperialism. In fact, African internationalism is a theory of that, of the generalized crisis of a U.S. Imperialism or for imperialism in decline. So very, very concrete example. So I'm full of joy. I'm getting texts there from Paris, from Manchester, saying we won. Even people I haven't heard from for quite a long time. I didn't even know they were watching. I'm getting texts from them. And I want to salute Common Pioneers, Common JC, and all the people work so hard to make this victory possible. I know, as you've been saying all along, it's not over yet. We already going back to U.S. Embassy on the 17th, on the 18th, I think, or 17th of January. So we're just waiting for what the instruction is going to be, what the slogan is going to be, so we can go back to U.S. Embassy. I think you giving this struggle is giving us a momentum because the U.S. should be under siege. I mean, the U.S. Embassy should be under siege everywhere, in Europe, in Africa, everywhere, and that's basically what we're going to do. So we're waiting for what the instruction will be, but we're going back to U.S. Embassy next month. So I don't want to say really a lot of things. I just just happy. Like on a Saturday, I have to use some of the slogans. I will tell people this slogan chairman brought it in London in 2000, like touch one, touch all, which is a slogan now you cannot miss. If there is a demonstration in England, even in France, I saw people who don't speak English in the event saying touch one, touch all. So that's impactful. The leadership has been, and I guess the consequences of this victory will be felt not just in the US, but around the world. So we're looking forward to move the struggle basically ahead. So we are winning. So that's just one more concrete example. So yes, it just I watched the press conference. It was awesome. So yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, I'll stop here, Chairman.
Uhuru. I hope that the room is not full of liberals. I do want to be disciplined and not make a really long kind of presentation. But I first of all speak with such tremendous humility and appreciation for you, for the work that we've done over this period of time, and for helping us to bring back a real movement in this country again. It's been decimated in the past. It hasn't existed for a long time. And when I say a movement now, I'm talking about a movement where Africans, where Mexicans, Palestinians, and other people can function in fighting in the interest of liberation, in the interest of peace, and developing another kind of social system, equality. No more ideological imperialism, no more Ku Klux communists who are telling us how we have to do and what we have to think. I'm reminded about a conference that happened in Stuttgart, Germany in 1907, about some of the most progressive white people in the world. These were members of the Communist International, as it was characterized. And they passed a resolution calling for socialist colonialism. And they argued very seriously about the notion that somehow you can not have colonialism under socialism, because where would Europe send? It's the population that was excess, except to the colonies, and that where would Europe get the resources it needs to function with all of the machinery and technology, et cetera, et cetera. These were arguments that were made at the Communist International. I forgot the number of people who, I think something like 900 people were formally in the Congress, and something like maybe 9,000 or 10,000 in the rally that happened outside of the conference. So this was a popular position, and this is what we've been fighting against for a long time. And I'm not race baiting. I don't play race nationalism. I don't like it. Race is a colonial concept in the first place. And so that's not what I'm dealing with. But what I am dealing with is that we have to have some science, and that science is not something that is inherently in the brains of white people. The colonizer always defines himself as the smartest, brightest of people on earth. That's the way that works. And a problem is that for many people is that the colonizer does not recognize the agency of the colonizer. In fact, it's inherent. The logic of the colonizer is that it's necessary for him or them to colonize us to bring us into civilization. It's necessary. It's we mentioned the other day, Rudyard Kipling, the white man's burden, that I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to go out and rape and steal all these resources, et cetera, but it's the white man's burden. And it stemmed from an actual relationship, practice, and development of what came to be known as Europe, which is a recent phenomenon, by the way, And so I just, wanted to say that. And we're creating a new world, a new kind of movement, where if you understand anything about modes of production, and I appreciate Karl Marx for playing a role in introducing this whole concept of modes of production. It is the process through which human beings engage socially in the production of life. And it shouldn't be a problem for most people who consider themselves Marxists and communists and socialists because they understood a capitalist mode of production. But what Marx did in getting to a capitalist mode of production, he talked about there has to be a genesis for capitalism. Where did it start? How did it get here in the first place? That's what he said. And he said things like capitalism came as a consequence of turning Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of black skins. He said about the terrible war that was being made in the so-called East Indies, where India and most of these areas are being looted. He talked about, in turn, the indigenous people in this land into the mines, bringing up gold and silver. This is the starting point of the whole thing. And so when you characterize that, as Marx did, as the primitive accumulation of capital, what it does is put the history of everybody in the world at the disposal of the development of Europe and European people. I don't know if I was understood. You know, it placed us in they placed what we do at the disposal, and we have no agency of our own. We have no interest, nothing that we fight for. There's no motivating factor or force for our own development. It's the primitive accumulation of capital. And we say, no, you're looking at a mode of production that's here. And it's a colonial mode of production. Everything that Marx talked about in terms of turning Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of black skins, and turning the indigenous people in this land, doing what was happening to the East Indies, that's colonialism. And so it was a colonial mode of production. The entire capitalist edifice rests upon a foundation of colonialism. And not recognizing that is something that has neutralized the agency of African people and Palestinian people and indigenous people. We've been knocked out of a process of conscious development of history for ourselves and end up having to create history for somebody else. And we don't play that. I just want to say that, and I've talked too long already, but I do want to say that a victory occurred on today. And it's not yet Uhuru, but it was a victory. Yes. Because an objective, as we said, of this charge against us was to criminalize Black people, oppressed people, criticizing our relationship to the United States. Right. Not only Black people and oppressed people, but people, white people who are colonizers who unite with Black people in this criticism that we make of the United States. Right. And I'm reminded, this is what killed Schwerner and Goodman in 1964 in Mississippi. This is part of what this is what happened to Penny Hess and Jesse Neville in 2000 and what was it, 22? Yeah. So we are engaged in this struggle to destroy a mode of production. And this is something that's really important for us because I heard, like a lot of people talking, or some people, not a lot of people, about what we gotta, burn down and shoot up and all this kind of stuff. And it's not tied to any to what end. Right. For what? You understand? I mean, you're dealing with the biggest arsonists in the world. You know what I'm saying? So to what end? What is your strategy? Where are you going with this? This is the fundamental question that we are dealing with. Right. What is the outcome of what it is you're fighting for? How can you develop a strategy? Your whole strategy is based on burning something down? Revolution is not based on destroying. Yes. It's based on developing. Yes. And that's the movement that we have created, one to develop. Even in the process of our oppression and exploitation, creating a new world. And this is the thing that creates tremors in the social system. The development, this country is so accustomed to killing and shooting and bombing. That's you're right where they want you to be. In fact, I'm convinced that one of the reasons that they waited 9 months to indict us, one reason is they wanted us to run. They wanted us to run, to bounce. And if we had bounced, they wouldn't have had to be dealing with this colonial question that they're dealing with now. But we will not sacrifice the struggles that our people have made just for democracy, just the democratic space against our struggle, we're not going to give that up. You know, I love Huey P. Newton once said that the revolutionary voluntarily goes underground. You don't do that voluntarily. You take all the democratic space that's possible to take. And that's what we're doing. We want democracy. And the question is, that's what we're going to fight you on. We ain't going to fight you on African internationalism. We ain't going to fight you on communism. We're going to fight you on democracy. And can you handle that discussion? Can you deal with democracy? That's your problem, not mine. You wrote it in all of these glorious books and terms. You stand for democracy. That's it. So that's part of what it is that I think is really important for us to say. I also want to say that this obviously has nothing to do, with the Russians, etc. What does burning the flag out here that they did broad daylight? They came in with a 50-foot red, black, and green flag out there. Guy pulls up in broad daylight, opens up his trunk, and he just happened to have a military-grade flamethrower in there, and in his trunk, and then, torches that. That was on July 2nd. Right. We didn't necessarily connect it at that time, but that was something like, 25, 27 days before they attacked this place. Why would they do that? It was a dry run. Why would they do a dry run? Because in 1996, they attacked this building with 300 military, this building right here where we are, this room right here where we are, with 300 military, this building. And they used all the tear gas in the city of St. Petersburg on us in this building. And they sent helicopters and airplanes. And the Africans came out and brought a helicopter down by gunfire. So they did a dry run. That happened, by the way. You were here. Your baby, Akile, was born. When was she born in relationship? She was born 2 days after. 2 days after. 2 days after that. Yeah. Akile was born 2 days after that. So the people brought the helicopter down. And not us. The people did that. So this is why they would do a dry run. They did that. And then some days later, they attacked this building, they attacked the other buildings, etc. And part of what they have learned to do is that they would criticize you and charge you with something that might be despicable, so that you cannot get support from the people. They did that to Sundiata Acoli. They said Sundiata was a rapist. That's so offensive for so many reasons. It's offensive. Here is the chief rapist in the damn world. When I look at my complexion, I'm looking at rape. You understand? And but Sundiata was an extraordinary freedom fighter and organized in these prisons throughout the South and Alabama in particular. And he was the first organizer of the African National Prison Organization that we created, Sundiata. Going every place, making this stuff happen. And they framed him up, and he died in prison. He died in prison partially because I said, Sundiata, you get you get a lawyer? He said, get a lawyer for what? I didn't assume you got to remember who you are, I'm a funding. And, but anyway, and his wife, incredible wife and children. So I wanted to say that. I want to also say that one of the reasons that Penny Hess's baby sister is standing over there is because we're solving the problems of the revolution. What were the problems of the revolution? One fundamental problem that we had to fight by ourselves. Our movement, our struggle was isolated. When they killed Fred Hampton, you didn't see white people anywhere rising up to white or anything like that. They killed him. And but shortly after that, was it Kent State? Yes. Kent State. People thought it was going to be a revolution. The white students all over, burning stuff down, etc. But Fred, there's nothing. When they murdered Malcolm X, did you see any movement in the white community or anything like that? When they killed Martin Luther King, it was African people who forced them to have to put tanks around the White House, not white people. And what we want to do is end that isolation and break out of it, and then allow white people to become a part of the struggle to liberate human beings and not be stuck on that race nationalist kind of stuff. That's why Penny has his little sisters over there. That's why I ended up in Moscow. You didn't hear any complaints from the New York Times, Washington Post, of any of them about us dying alone when they did Fred, when they bombed our people. It is to me the most ridiculous thing. I go to Philadelphia. I'm asking, how in the hell can you have all these white people here? And they come they have organizational meetings dealing with different stuff, and nobody is talking about move. They dropped the bomb. They dropped C4. You know, how can that happen? How is it possible for somebody to fix their brains in such a fashion that they don't feel a responsibility to do that? That was something that was striking to us. We don't do that no more. I was in Ireland, the Irish Republican Socialist Party. This was a really important trip for me. It's the first time I've seen white people live in circumstances like black people in this country. It was a remarkable trip for me. And I was greeted at the airport by a woman who had been shot in her bed at some time earlier. It's, serious scar here. A man with a serious limp because of how he had been wounded by the Brits and under British colonialism. I was also struck by the fact that bombings were happening on a regular basis. You were in Belfast at this time. The British troops didn't walk anywhere. They ran. They ran everywhere with their weapons. They had many forts set up all over Belfast. Everywhere you went, there was a little fort there. This is what Belfast looked like at the time. And they lived in housing projects with sewage sipping, percolating, through the lawns in the yard. This was like the black community. I go to this place and I see this man who I'm introduced to, who has suffered a skull fracture and has been impacted seriously by that because he was shot with the so-called rubber bullet. I used to think a rubber bullet was something like a Nerf ball. So this is I'm in Ireland, and I want to win support for our struggle. I want to win the Irish to unite with our demand for reparations and to unite with our struggle to get the United States Congress to ratify the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Genocide. It took 40 years for the United States to do that, by the way. And then when they did it with the caveat that the United States would have to accept any kind of criticism like that came. But that's why I was there. We're trying to solve the problems of the revolution. We don't want this struggle to ever be in isolation anymore. We want the world to know what's happening to African people. And so, that's just a little bit of the stuff. I just wanted to mention some of that stuff. That's what took me. I was in Frankfurt. Is Frankfurt the capital of Germany?
Yes.
I was in Frankfurt shortly after our reparations tribunal. I was when the Green Party was first installed in the parliament there. I was there. I was there to take the message of what was happening to black people and what our tribunal had just come up with. This stuff about the Russians. So anyway, I just wanted to say it was our responsibility to set an example to stand up. It's not necessarily the most comfortable thing in the world to do, but you got to do it. You understand? Now, that's the response. We assume that responsibility. When we volunteered, we made a promise to the people who followed us that we would not be cowardly, slithering on our bellies, kissing the feet and the asses of our. We would not be able to use us as that kind of example to demoralize our people. Our objective was to help the people to understand that if you fight, you win. And I think going beyond that, we have to take on this thing about the United States, the feds, the FBI, this 97% conviction rate. Such a high conviction rate is because when they come at you with tanks and flashbang grenades, and you know you got the power of the whole United States government coming against you, people pay plea deals if they did it or not. And in fact, they will threaten you and tell you if you don't take this deal, what you're going to do is get life in prison. This is the kind of thing they do. So we tell the people.
Because it's almost time.
I see. Yes.
And so we can have a couple of minutes, right? Just a couple of minutes for commentary before we end.
Yeah.
I was hoping to hear from Jesse real quick, but it's what is that? The Burning Spear TV.
Yeah.
There was
On the lawn.
some folks are able to go in and see it on, and they can follow up and watch the whole thing again on YouTube. But before we close, James, you have any final comments or anything?
No, but other than that well-worn phrase, the struggle continues, we're going to see probably even more of this type of activity and prosecution from the government and the incoming regime. And I think we need to think about it, think about what we do, think of how we're going to respond and defend ourselves without compromising our principles and without compromising our activities. They're going to challenge us and try to scare us in every way possible. And we just don't need to succumb to that.
Right. Right on.
And we need to have a sit down about that, eye to eye, sharing the same air, and
you ain't said nothing but a word, sister,
right,
comrade. We do, absolutely,
and get it together. And people are, I think we've all had the experience at this point of just our community in our daily life who exist outside the radical bubble, the revolutionary bubble, the conscious, but whatever, that bubble, having that, making that comment. So what do you think? What do we need to do? What what I'm saying? Sparking that conversation, whether it's because they see people are seeing you as representative of that tradition and of that work, and or Black people are just recognizing and having that having that conversation. There's something that we need to do. What is it? And that is a great opportunity, and let's just start the cipher spinning, as it were. And this is going to be a glorious time of clarifying information, changing minds, representing our true history, and making clear what our struggles are and are not. So look forward to the challenge. Look forward to the challenge, my dear comrades. I said I look forward to the challenge. That was the imperative sentence. That was me declaring I'm looking forward to that challenge.
The battle is heating up, but the hotter the battle, the sweeter the victory. So we'll say all the things, you know, if you're out there in YouTube world, please do subscribe, like this, and share it. Above all, share it. We will be back. I expect we will be back Thursday with something on our regular Joko schedule.
Yes.
Aluta continua. Victory
Victory is certain.
And Uhuru means freedom.